Well, hi friends and everyone else who decides to watch this video. Welcome to Canadian Cutting Edge. Today we're looking at something by Kansept knives. Not a huge knife, a little over 3 inches in the blade, and it's a detent slip joint knife called the Weasel. Are you curious? I like slip joint knives. I hope you do too. Come on down, let's take a good close look at this thing. I figured I'd show you an unboxing of the thing first. If we can get a focus up here. There you go, designer Rolf Helbig. This is the Weasel. Size 3.12 inches. Well, not quite, but yeah, yep, that's about the size. 154 cm drop point knife. T2020A4 is the model number. Kansepts come with this nice carbon fiber, microfiber, and a nice little pouch inside. Kind of like their pouches, they're kind of decent. You know, it's got that flap on there. And there you go, the natural G10 version. It's a little bit dirty. Yes, I use my knives before I review them. I forgot to clean that back off again. A little bit of dark spot right there, probably from a little bit of schmutz on my fingers or something. Anyhow, comes 3 ways. This is the cheapest way. This is G10, natural G10. You can also get with a sort of coarse brown carbon fiber, and that one's got a black wash blade. And you can also get it with shredded carbon fiber, also with this stone wash. Ugh, still dirty. Still dirty. Somebody's got to clean that blade off. It's dirty because I used it. It's not dirty from the factory. It comes very nice from the factory. And, you know, I did all my measurements and everything, but I did all my testing and everything on this too, so that's not all the way clean yet, but there you go. Nice stone wash finish. I really like that. Smooth stone wash, great smooth feel, full flat grind, the very slightest of drop points. It's almost a straight back knife. It's very, very close to flat. See, look at this. If I put a straight edge on it, it's the ever so slightest of a drop point blade. Not very droppy at all. You got your nice big belly, a long straight section, and it's very thin behind the edge. The grind angle's not so great, but you know, nice and thin. Put your own sharpening edge on it. From the factory, it's fairly sharp. I like that the badging's nice and small. Right there it says Weasel, Rolf Helbig. And on this side, you've got your Kansept logo right there, and right here, T2024A, or A4, I should say, 154 cm. Now, 154 cm has been around almost as long as I have. It's a good stainless steel. It used to be the premium stainless steel. Now, they come in at pretty close to budget prices. This one's not that expensive, and it's still a very good steel. Rockwell on this is around 60. It's got good durability, good edge retention, good toughness. Doesn't super excel at any of those, but it's a very good stainless steel in my opinion, especially for the price. Okay, you want to know the price? All right, let's go over that. Pull out my notes here. This guy at Kansept Knives is $66.50 US. At White Mountain Knives, this is listed at $67, but you save 10% with coupon code CCE, Canadian Cutting Edge. That makes it $60.30. That's the best price I could find for this knife. It is considered a slip joint knife, so if you're in Canada, no problems with getting it from there. But if you are in Canada, it's cheaper to get this thing from Integrity Knives. You also save 10% there with coupon code CCE. $79.99, take off 10%, $71.99. But White Mountain Knives, it's about 83 Canadian, so you can pay 83 or 71. Which one would you rather pay? Now, those of you who remember my Kansept Fusa video, this is in a lot of ways very similar to the Fusa, especially in terms of size. It's got more of a Tanto-esque, I don't like the word Tanto anyways, but it's got a little radius on it too, but it's got a blade that's got a little less of a tip than this thing does. Not that you're going to be wanting to be using a tip, you know, puncturing stuff too much on a slip joint knife, but the Fusa is a liner lock knife. But, you know, the handle dimensions and stuff are very similar. It's not identical, but very similar. If you don't like slip joints and you want a liner lock, check out the FUSA video. The FUSA is really cool because they've got a number of exclusive handle scales that look really cool. This thing, I don't know if there's any exclusives of or not. Whoop, hit it into the table. One thing I really like about this thing is this flipper tab. It's round, but it's got that jimping all the way around it. And so it works good to flip it out. But then you got the jimping on the front, which means when you're holding it, that helps protect it from closing on you. So that's good. We've got no chamfer, just a slightly rounded edge here. No jimping. Of course, most slip joint knives don't have jimping because then you're going to be pushing on it, right? And you don't want to be pushing it closed on your hand. Excuse me, that was a hiccup. What else do we got? We got a nice quick plunge here. Not a very big sharpener's tool, but it's definitely big enough, so I like that. The cutting edge is fairly close to your finger. Slices and cuts quite well. Like I said, slip joint knives are not that great for, you know, doing the old pokey. Badging, small. Oh, I covered that already. Handle. Well, we've got button screws. I don't like button screws. Why do people keep using button screws? Let's see. Is this a T6? I believe it's a T6. Yep. T6 button screws, but not much play at all. Let's move it this way a little bit so maybe you can see that better. See that? Not much play, which is quite nice. So it fits snug. I like that it fits nice and snug. So that's good. Let's take a look at these. Yeah, these are the same. Nice and snug. Although I'd much rather have T8 screws back here. This is what you've got. It's not a complete standard pocket clip, but pretty close. We've got 3 holes in there. Other than that, it's, you know, a decent pocket clip. Stainless steel clip. It's got a bit of a stonewash finish on it. Works good. It's right side only, which I'm totally fine with. I carried this thing in my left pocket for a while, you know, because I'm left-handed. I grew up left-handed. I'm pretty much ambidextrous now, but, you know, pulling it out of the left pocket, opening it up, using it, you know, so I turned it a little bit when I had to use it. You know, not that big a deal. It's okay. A slip joint knife is not the kind of knife you're going to need or want to be needing to pull out in an extreme hurry. If you want a knife that you're going to need to pull out in an extreme hurry, get yourself a locking folder. Or a fixed blade. Fixed blades are even faster. Those things just come out and they're ready to go. Anyhow, we've got a black wash. That's a PVD coating black wash liner set in here. Got a backspacer that's also the natural J G10. The G10 here's got a bit of a curve on it, so it is a 3D G10. Let me see if I can get a good, if it'll focus up here. So you can see, you know, it's a bit thicker right in the middle than it is down at the edges. And then a slight chamfer all the way around, just very slight. Decent knife. Let's actually show the pocket clip in use. Here we go. Slides right over every time. Got a little bit sticking out. Maybe dye the natural G10, you know, a nice denim blue, and it'll hide even better. But the natural G10 doesn't grab much attention. Anyways, it's a decent pocket clip. Well, I'm fairly consistent with this next part. I tend to forget to show you guys the balance point. There you go, right there. And yeah, if it was skeletonized a little bit, it would be lighter, and the balance point would be a little more this way, like I prefer. Yeah, I said it the wrong way around on that Ganzo video for the G6804. Some of you guys caught that. Good on you. The other thing, the alignment. Look at that. Focus now. There you go. The alignment. Very nice indeed. Now, like I said earlier, it's a detent slip joint knife. I wish Kansept would do double detent slip joints. There's only one detent holding it closed, which is almost exactly like a liner lock does. So it's got a good detent for holding it closed. The release is nice and snappy. You don't have to use too much pressure to get it open. It's just really nice. And going to close it, you know, it's pretty good. I would just like it to have 2 detents for when you close it, and that would be really nice. Let's take this thing apart and see how it's constructed. This is my first time taking this thing apart. There you go. You see the liners. There's no skeletonizing on it at all. There's a slight recess in here so that there's a little more room for the ball bearings in there. The body screws, they've got just a little dab of Loctite on them. And the main screw, you know, it's a nice T8. I didn't mention that it's a T8 before. Let me double check with my T8 driver. Super snug fit, almost no play at all. But we've got a free spinning pivot pin, so I had to use 2 screwdrivers to get the thing undone. And I don't prefer that, but there you go. We've got ceramic ball bearings right there. They're kind of small, but there you go. I think there's 9 on each side. Not the best, but you know, not terrible. Your back spacers, they got steps on them, so you can run it without the back spacer if you want, and it'll hold just fine. There's no problem. You know, so it's totally your choice if you want this or not. And there you go. By the way, you notice there's no lanyard hole, so if you want a lanyard, you can run it this way and tie off on one of these. And there's your detent right there. It's just one spring arm with a detent ball, and it runs in these 2 holes. One to hold it closed, one to hold it open. And like I said, I prefer if you've got this kind of detent on both sides. On one side, you can just leave 1 hole so that it only uses 1 detent for when it's closed, and then 2 detents when it's open. That's how a lot of Samurai Mew knives are made, but super simple construction. And nice and clean inside. And I'm going to actually give it a little bit of Gunny Glide. The weight of this knife, 84 grams, 2.96 ounces. So yeah, 3 ounces for this knife. The factory sharpness, 175 best. Yeah, not great, not bad. Pretty good sharpness from the factory. The cutting edge length, straight line from the heel of the blade to the tip, that is 79 millimeters, 3.11 inches. Blade length, tip to the closest spot on the handle, 79.5 millimeters, 3.13 inches. Yeah, they said it was 3.12. Mine's 3.13 inches. You got an extra 100th of an inch there. Whoa, that's going to do you in good stead. The thickness of the blade. So at the thickest part here up at the ricasso, the blade stock is 2.93 millimeters, 0.1155 of an inch. It stays most of the thickness most of the way and really starts to taper, you know, closer to the tip right there. Focus down on a tip. There you go. You can see where that taper is right there. And the next measurement, the blade depth, that's this measurement. Close to the heel of the blade, it is 21.4 millimeters, 0.843 of an inch. Of course, it keeps getting smaller till it disappears. Behind the grind, 0.33 millimeters, 13.5 thousandths of an inch thin. That's a pretty thin, very thin edge. But, you know, a slip joint knife like this, you're probably not going to use this as a heavy-duty, hard-use knife. You're not going to be chopping into things. So that edge, you know, in my testing, stayed up very, very fine. It's no problems, no chips, no rolled edges, none of those kind of issues at all. Grind angles. Average grind angles per side. This side's got an average grind angle of 21.4 degrees. This side's got an average grind angle of 22.6 degrees. This guy started at 20.7 degrees, ended at 24.5 degrees. Yeah, that's 3.8 degrees of change. This side started at 23.0, ended at 19.8. That's 2.3 degrees of change. Very typical sharpening for knives in this price range, unfortunately. Handle length. How long is this handle measured just on the G10 right here in this orientation? You know, not crooked or anything, but straight across. 99.9 millimeters, 3.93 inches. The grip area, so behind this jimping back here to the pretty close to the end, about 8.5 centimeters, about 3 1/3 inches. So it's not a small knife, but it's certainly not a big knife either. You know, it's just a nice mid-sized pocket knife. And the thickness of the handle scale, going down the middle here where it's thickest, like I showed you before, this thing is 11.7 millimeters thick, 0.46 of an inch. So nice. I like that. The handle depth this way, the widest point is right behind this flipper that ends up being a little bit of a guard. That's the widest point. 22.9 millimeters, 0.9 of an inch. And when it's closed, the widest point is, of course, at the flipper, 25.9 millimeters, 1.02 inches. And the total length of this thing from end to end, it's about 179 millimeters, 7.05 inches. So 7-inch knife, little over 3, little under 4. Pretty good, if you ask me. What are my thoughts on this thing? I think it's a keeper. I like this. I'm a fan of slip joint knives to start with. Is it ideal? I mean, perfect? It's not perfect, but it's quite good. I'm probably going to dye these handle scales at some point. I did a dyeing video, I don't know, a year and a half ago or something. It's not the best how to dye G10 video out there, but there you go. You can watch it if you'd like to learn about dyeing handle materials. I like the pocket clip, even though it's right side only. I like the fact you got a little bit of a guard here. I like 154 cm. I like how thin this edge is. You know, I can sharpen it really, really well. Hopefully you can too. And the handle's comfortable. I almost never use lanyards, but like I said, you can take the back spacer off, tie off on the front guy, not the back guy, and have it come out this way. And, you know, you're going to be fine with a lanyard on here just by getting rid of that back spacer. So it is a pretty good knife. And when I'm paying attention, you know, you can make it flick really fast and then close really fast. Before I say goodbye, thank you very much to my supporters, those of you who support the channel on Patreon and YouTube memberships. I appreciate your help very, very much. And remember, always cut towards your chum, not your thumb.